Good morning. It is time now for Around the County with Nelson County Judge-Executive Tim Hutchins. Is brought to you by Joe Hill's Power Sports and Outdoor Equipment. We'll hear from them in just a moment, but right now, let's hear from the judge as he introduces a guest.
Good morning, Ralph. I have two guests today. We have Todd and Brooke from the Nelson County Animal Shelter. What's the proper name for that?
You got it.
Nelson County Animal Shelter?
Yes.
Todd is, I guess, basically I'm going to say what everybody used to say, the dog catcher.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's the old saying. Anyway, he takes care of the going out and rescuing and the complaint department. And Brooke internally, I guess, does a lot of administration and stuff. But anyway, they're here today. And if people got any calls, hopefully no complaints. So we just want to, every week we try to bring up something new and different people coming in about what's going on in the community. Now, this job that they've got is a tough job. And I'm going to be real clear before we get started with any calls, because there's a lot of people out there that, just like when we rescued, I think it was 66 people in the Boston area this time when there's flooding. And every time you pick up a person or two, there's usually 2 or 3 or 4 dogs.
Yeah.
And of course cats too, but so there's a lot of animals out there. And there's a lot of people that don't take care of their own animals, and they get on other people's property, and then it's a complaint. And I'm going to be quite honest, I've said it multiple times since I've been elected. They say, you love your job, what's your biggest problem? I'm going to tell you the number one problem I've had as far as complaints, and they weed a lot of them out before they get to me, is dogs.
Yep.
Since I've been elected, 2 years and about 3 or 4 months, and it's a tough one. They got a tough job.
Do we have a leash law in the county, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
And it's the whole county. It's including city and throughout the whole county.
And just remind our listeners and me exactly what, not exactly, but what it says in essence.
Get some feedback, Roth. Where's it coming from?
Oh, probably our headphones. Okay.
You hear it?
Yeah, there we go. That should have got it. So what is our law? What does it say?
So it basically states pretty much word for word, that every dog in Nelson County should be on a leash or contained in some way by the owner, and it's throughout the whole county.
The underground fence, when we had a little dog, we had, and a lot of people I know use them, that is considered containing them?
Absolutely,
Right.
as long as they're on your property.
On your property, yeah.
Yes. And then if you take them out for a walk or something, you can't just let them free walk with you. They have to be on a leash because anything can happen.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, we want to say thank you to Joe Hill's Power Sports for sponsoring the show. 348-2222 is the number here, 348-2222. So you can call and or text. And so we want to let everybody know that Joe Hills is thankful for them for sponsoring this. You want to roll on too?
We will hear a word from Joe Hills, and we'll be back. We're talking animal control today on Around the County. We are back, and our thanks to the sponsor of Joe Hill's Outdoor Equipment and, of course, Joe Hill Power Sports. We had a question or a comment about potholes, Stonehouse Trail, duly noted by the judge.
Yeah, I'll put that on my notes. It seems to me like somebody asked me about that before, and if I didn't turn it in, I apologize, because we've got a bunch of them all over the county, so I'll address that today.
Okay. Next text is Mr. Bartley, Todd Bartley, the only animal control officer? If so, why? Is he obviously very busy, or he is very busy? And I watched him rescue those dogs in the rushing water, and he needs help.
Yeah, needs help. Well,
I agree.
Me too.
Every department could use more people, but because my quick answer to that is, you've only got so much money to go around. And if that may get digging in too deep into the details of every department, because it takes a lot. So, we're we've got a very strong budget that we just passed. The county's in very good financial shape. We want to make sure we keep it that way. We've had to do a lot of improvements the last couple of years and buy a lot of equipment in different departments. The big elephant in the room, is the one you've been talking about every week, the courthouse, and we've got get the heating and air fixing that. There's it's just old and wore out. We're putting, continuously trying to get that thing. Hopefully after this year we'll have that thing wrapped up. That'll free us up to do some other things. But we have done quite a bit of work, and we're going to continue to do more work there, cleaning up that animal shelter. And I don't know if you got the bids yet or not. We're going to do some painting in there and try to replace some cages and do some, internal work. And
I'd like to do like a open house for the public.
Yeah, we'll get it all cleaned up, and I ain't gonna say it's dirty, but
it just needs a lot of repairs.
It just needs some updates because it's been there, a long time. So that's a lot of we ought to get in every department, every building. I mean, over time things just fall apart just like your house. So we've got to get in there this year and try to do some work. And I've got some private money that I think that I've got. She's got several that's given different donations to help offset what they do out there, and I've got some more coming, and so it won't be such a burden on the taxpayer. So we're going to go out there and try to do a lot of work over the next, this year and next year, and get it back up to where it needs to be at. But as far as Todd's job, it's a tough job, but we worked out a deal. I don't say a deal, I just basically, I asked them to, let's put it that way. So the road department, when I came in, we reworked the maintenance department and the county road department, and still continuously working to improve. And they've done a really good job, so we've got some rotations coming out of there on weekends where Todd won't be on call, 7 days a week. Through the police, emergencies, when dispatch gets a call, police departments get a call, there's just a lot of it is communication or lack of communication about, the clinic's open, I guess, what is it, 8 to 4 or 4:30 or?
No, they're only there 2 days a week, and they're there.
Not the clinic, but I'm talking about your side.
Oh, the shelter,
the rest, where y'all come in and.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, and then we're open for the public from 12 to 3:30. For them to just come in and out as they please. So
if he's out, getting complaints on dogs or whatever, and if it's emergency, it's a different situation. So, you get on call, he can't go home and drink a beer. He got to get called back out. so we're trying to work all that out, and it's we got some more work to do on that, but trying to get the schedules on that a little bit better. But
Todd, if it's a danger situation where the animal looks to be threatening to livestock or humans, do they go 911? And
typically, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they'll usually call 911, and then dispatch will get in touch with me, depending on the situation.
Excuse me.
And then, I may be home and ready to go, or I may be out in the garden or something, but I try to get out there as quick as I can.
Okay. Otherwise, if it's not an emergency situation, would they just call? Do you guys have a direct line phone number, or does it just go through county?
They can call out to the shelter and leave a message after hours, and we'll get the message next day.
Yeah, but it's an emergency situation, they'll call dispatch, and if there's a bite or a fight or, but what I call a regular nuisance, which we try to get to the public to understand is the dog's been running down the street, and they've got tired of it, and they got in their garbage or different things, and they're going down the street and using the bathroom in their yard or whatever. But we need to take care of that during regular business hours. I mean, it just takes too much time, and then you got to pay overtime, and it costs the county taxpayers a lot of money. So I didn't bring my budget with me about what we've got out there. But
one issue we have a lot of is somebody will call about a stray that's been in their neighborhood for 3 or 4 days, and they're calling, late on a Friday afternoon, and wants us to go out there and get it, which, I can go out there, but sometimes it takes time to catch them. Sometimes it requires setting a trap or anything like that, and it just takes time. So it's not something that can be done right away in most cases.
5-4. Okay. All right. I think we have a call, Judge. There's your headphones, and we'll see who the call goes to. All right. And good morning. You are on Around the County. Go ahead.
Hello, Tim.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay, I guess. I got a complaint. I live on Cardinal Hill here in Bardstown,
Okay, go ahead.
and the grass outside turned into Cardinal Hill hasn't been mowed forever, and you can't see when you pull out. I think somebody's going to pull out and get hit. I guess it's because of rain and everything, but it's real tall and needs to be cut before we can get out of the subdivision. I've had a lot of complaints about it, but I thought I'd ask you or tell you, and then you'll be aware of it.
You pulled out on, let's see,
Yeah,
that's on New Haven,
yes, sir.
New Haven Road,
Yes.
right?
Yes, you put on New Haven Road. If you're trying to go back towards town,
Mm-hmm.
you can't see. You can't see a car coming up the hill.
Yeah, they have it,
I mow everything else. I cannot mow that motorcycle. I'll put somebody run over me.
right. Alrighty, I'll get the state to, now that's coming off, so it's coming, let me look at it, and I'm sure it's probably in the state. I don't think Bush Hog that side of the road, or the county does the entrance coming in, but,
Yes, sir.
it's Cardinal Hill, but I'll get somebody on top of it, okay?
I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Let's go back to the text line real quick here. Got one person says, I guess in response to, said you're very busy, need help. Next text says it's not the dogs, it's the owners.
Absolutely.
Exactly. It's the owners for sure.
It's not an animal problem, it's a people problem sometimes.
So is it an offense, a citationable offense to let your dog run?
If it happens often enough, usually the first complaint, I'll go out and I'll notify the owners of the complaint, and then after that, if we're provided proof of what this person is saying, then we can take it to a written warning, and then after that it would be court summons.
Okay.
And when we say that too, I always try to clarify, it's a people problem, but also, not everybody is like that. Because a lot of people, when they hear that, they take it as in a hole. That's where a lot of shelters get a lot of their scrutiny from. And, my biggest goal is to educate the public as to what's going on, that not everyone is bad, and, get the community more involved and make relationships with them.
And you mentioned, or the judge mentioned, strays. I mean, I know that people dump dogs and cats, whether they're adult or puppies, if they dump them, and it's tragic. And I don't know how to, you guys, if there's any way in the world to stop that, but that's where a lot of where it's not the people's fault, except for the person that dumped them.
Exactly. It just goes back to the owners, and one thing I strongly just ask is, if you do see someone dumping a dog, just try your best to get a good ID of the vehicle and a license plate if possible, because otherwise there's not a whole lot we can do.
And it's tragic, but it happens. And probably more than I would ever imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
I just met somebody Saturday up at the shelter, and they had found 2 puppies that were dumped on 245.
Yeah.
It's constant.
Animals are chipped. Do we have a chip reader at the
We do.
shelter to determine if they truly have got loose, got lost?
And if you go through the trouble to get your animal microchip, make sure it's registered, because so many times we'll have a dog that's microchipped, and when we call the number associated with that chip to find out who the owner is, it's not registered, so it's basically a dead end, and we're back to square one.
And most veterinarian clinics, maybe all of them, can do that, and will do that.
I work with a organization, and they have mentioned giving us a microchip station that you could put police station, fire department, something like that for after hours. If someone finds a stray, they can scan the microchip.
Okay.
Because you can, if you have that microchip, you can go online and look it up and be able to talk with someone to get in touch with the owner if it's after hours.
Here comes a dumb question. I thought the microchip was implanted in the animal.
It is.
Oh, it is.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So how, I mean, you
Where they
just,
put it, is it an ear?
Nope, we put it in the back of the scruff of the neck, just
Okay.
like you really would for some other vaccines. It's a little bitty tiny chip, and it takes 2 seconds to do it, and it'll be right there when you scan them. It'll be right there on the back of the
Okay,
neck. They
so-
can migrate, though. They can move around.
Yeah.
So always, if you
So how do you scan it? Take your phone, scan it?
know there's actual readers for it, like you have to buy a microchip scanner
Okay.
to scan it.
but you guys have one, and a lot of the veterinarians probably.
Yeah, all vets have them, and then we have them too. Yes.
One misconception with the microchips is some people think they're trackers,
Yeah.
and they aren't. They just have a number associated with them that we can look up and get the owner's information so we could get in contact with them.
Never else one thing on the animal control ordinance. Since I have been elected,
Go ahead now. You were saying?
the NGO,
Yeah.
is that the,
No, I bumped a button, so it's probably still running if you want to hear the rest of it.
No, that's-
I'll get it stopped here about that.
now we've updated a lot of ordinances and, under the county umbrella, and just need to be updated. Most of them are way outdated and need to be updated and change some of the language. And of course, you've got new state laws and even federal laws you have to put in place. So we've tried to update, I don't know, there's just a bunch of ordinances, but we haven't got to them all yet. So this animal control ordinance, I think we need more teeth in some of it, especially when it comes into the confiscating animals, and some people get them back and they can keep getting them back and they got to pay a fee, and we've got to get that tightened down a little bit more. Most people that has a dog that's vicious, they don't think they're vicious.
Right.
And if they attack and hurt somebody's little child, or anybody as far as that goes, but especially a little child that can't get away or take their life, then you can't get the dog back. Well, it's too late. In my opinion, it's too late. So
Absolutely.
so we are, we haven't really got into the finishing it up. I know we started on it, looked at it, but we get some of this FEMA stuff out of the way, and hopefully this floods out of the way where we can get back into everyday business. So we've got a lot in the county, a lot going on. So that's one of the things we want to try to get updated and cleaned up, and basically just have more teeth in it. I mean,
It hasn't been updated in years.
no,
It's been 11 years.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
updated in 2014.
Yeah.
So the county actually can adopt and draft a law that,
yeah, there's a Nelson County Animal Control Ordinance that's been in place, for years. And like you said, when they update it, and depends on how the fiscal court wants to go, how far they want to go. It's really hard when you get into rural areas
Yes.
and you get, in the city limits or in subdivisions. But when you get out in the rural areas and the farmers, and you've got dogs and things that's following sometimes they accuse them of chasing animals, and that may not be the case. They just might be out there because they kind of travel sometimes. But it's not an easy subject. But to me, especially when you get into subdivision areas, and there's another complaint you get: people walking their dogs up and down the streets, and they use the bathroom, and they don't mind them going in somebody else's yard, but they don't want to go in their yard. And but there's a lot of people that do it respectfully, do the right thing, but there's still so many that don't. And it's, it's just like everything else. You throw your garbage out. We've talked about it, and we picked up garbage, and magistrates talk about if we can arrest them and get them into court. But
we got to find them.
Well, you can get a license plate.
Yeah.
You almost got to have a video. You got to be able to identify who's driving the vehicle, and you get into court of law, and I get it. Then the police officers have to show up in court. It takes a lot of time to testify, and then the judge says, if you don't have enough information, we're kind of the same way with this. You got to be able to prove it. You might know it, but you got to prove it. So it's not an easy situation. So we just, end of the day, like y'all said earlier, it's people need to be responsible for their own animals and their own garbage. And I don't want to get into the garbage subject today. Seems like we talk about that every time I'm on here, but we have made a lot of strides in the garbage and the building and the dumpsters and the boxes. We've made a lot of strides in that. And since we're on that subject, trying to get things cleaned up and enforced, and so
Brooke, if you will, maybe give us the relationship between our animal shelter, Barktown Rescue, and how can you work together? Do you work together?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So Heather, who runs Barktown, me and her are pretty close, and I try not to overrun her though, because I know that she has a lot of dogs and cats herself. But every now and then, she'll come and check out what we have and will help us, and vice versa. They were pretty affected by the flood, and I was like, hey, we've got this and this. You can have that, and they hate asking, although they are a rescue and they are nonprofit, that's all they run off of. But it's just pretty much, it's not all the time, but we work together. We have adoption events together. I'll invite them, and vice versa. If they end up having one, they'll invite us. We just try to work together on that. And while we're on the radio too, just to make it clear for everyone, it's been such a hard one to get people to understand the separation between the animal shelter and animal control versus the Humane Society. And it's been this way for a long time, but I get it.
Forever.
For a long, long time. I think it's been it was 2021, I think?
Probably.
Was it 22? 21, when county officially took over the Humane Society's area, where they were the ones that was doing the adoptions and whatnot. But now it's, animal control and animal shelter, we are together. We work alongside one another, and then the Humane Society is just the low-cost clinic now. They do low-cost spay and neutering of cats, no dogs, just cats. And then they are our friends as well, friends to the shelter type of sense, in helping us with all of our animals that need the vetting, spay and neuter, and all that. We couldn't do it without having them. That's really fortunate. You don't have shelters out there that are fortunate enough to have their own clinic that works side by side with them. And that's just kind of the thing. Like I said, though, we work alongside one another. We're friends. They're friends to the shelter. They help us out so much, but we are separate entities, and that's just kind of the difference.
Somebody wants to adopt a animal from
The Nelson County Animal Shelter. Yeah, and that's what we do.
What's
there.
the process?
So pretty much, I've tried changing a lot since I've become director. I tried to make it a lot less difficult to adopt. A lot of places it is, and you'll have to fill out applications and all of this and that, and I've shortened our application. I've changed it to a questionnaire. I like to instead of feeling so invasive, like you have to fill an application out. So usually I have them fill that out if they come in, or they can fill it out online if they see one online they like, and pretty much just filling them out on paper, then talking with them on the phone and trying to see who seems best fit for them. The only thing that I do as far as that's going to make it or break it is I will call a vet, because they're going to tell you if there's any red flags, if they brought in an animal that was in terrible shape or something like that. But other than that, it's kind of just getting to know the people, talking with them, and going from there and seeing what would be best for them.
Does the shelter require spay and or neutering for adoption, or?
Oh, absolutely. Nothing leaves unless they are fixed. They have to be spay and neutered. Now, there are exceptions sometimes where we can do like a pre-adoption, and this is just sometimes. It's not for every animal, because it's something that I've kind of been playing around with. If they're too little, too small, if they're sick, like kittens. I have a kitten that's really sick right now, and I know for a fact that she will get better in a home rather than the stress of the shelter. She's waiting for her cat to get better, bring her back and get her spayed, and then finalize the adoption. So, but nothing will go without being spay and neutered.
Okay.
And they'll be up to date on all their vaccines. It's $160 for a dog, and it's $80 for a cat. Microchips, all vaccines, and then we can do the 2 for 1 on the cats too.
Do you require the microchips? You don't require that. That's not part of the adoption.
It is.
Requirement. Oh, it is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Like it's not. Their animals do not have to be. It's that they're going. Our animals have to be microchipped and everything before they leave.
Okay.
Yes.
But 160
for a dog, and then 80 for a cat, and then we always have the special where if you get one cat, you get the other one free if you want to do 2. And there's sometimes we can do exceptions. You know, if an animal was returned, we done got the money out of that animal, so we can go free. Then we also have a couple that always give us money for at least 4 animals to be sponsored and go home for free. So we always have free adoptions floating around as well. Yeah, it's pretty easy peasy.
Yeah. Todd, I know you have looks like a body camera.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, a lot of people see me wearing bulletproof vest, body cam. I carry a firearm, and that's for my own safety. There's been a few situations that could have went really bad, really fast, and so it's for my safety. Hopefully I'll never need to use any of it, but and for proof as far as with the camera and everything, a lot of people don't see what I see, so some things can be misconstrued as far as what's actually being seen from my point of view versus somebody across the street.
Yep.
So it's just to help me in all matters as far as my own safety.
I didn't know about the weapon down there, but that's Judge?
They're doing a good job again out there. We've started the I don't know how long, it's been a year and a half or so. We had the inmate crews going out, and I guess without getting me any negative feedback today, so it's worked out pretty good, and they help go out and clean up, and it takes a burden off them and helps.
It's nice having them.
Coming in and cleaning and I don't know what duties they actually do, but prevents us from hiring anybody else.
Yeah.
Saving taxpayers' money, and that's again one of my goals. And I think it's been pretty good, worked out pretty good. I don't know who else is helping you on the weekends as far as taking your spot. Or at night, I haven't heard any complaints lately, so I'm not going to say too much.
We try to do right now it's a 4-man rotation. Actually, it's now down to 3-man. So it's me and 2 other road department guys. We try to alternate weekends. I take all the calls from dispatch and decide whether they're feasible to go on. Sometimes, it may just be a standard stray, and 99% of the times those calls end up, you get out there and it's either been picked up by the owner, someone else, or it's just simply not there anymore. So it's just a waste of time. So I try to weed through most of those to make sure they're calls that are worth going on, because it does take overtime. And then there's calls too that the road department guys they don't have the training to be able to handle certain situations. I do have a dart gun on the truck. I'm certified to use the drug for the darts. They would not be, so there's only certain things that that they're able to go on.
Well, I've got to ask. I mean, we talk dogs and cats, but it's animal control. What else do you get called out on?
So typically we get called on everything, but typically I do only go out on domesticated animals,
Okay.
Unless it's livestock welfare check. People call in saying such and such horse or cow, they're not being fed, they look bad. We ask them to send us pictures. Sometimes, just from my own laws that I have to go by, I can't very well trespass on the property. So, some properties I can't see what they're talking about unless they do provide some kind of proof, and that would give me more reason that I could go further onto the property.
Would you be the person to call if coyotes began to threaten somebody's livestock or dogs and cats?
Not typically. I guess there's, every situation could be, different. If it's an absolute emergency and, I can help in some way, then sure, I would do whatever I could. But typically, we get all kinds of wildlife calls: raccoons, skunks, possums, all that. And this year, I feel like we'll be getting a lot of fawn, baby deer calls. Here soon. We get them every year. Typically, they show up in somebody's backyard, right next to their house, in their landscaping. And I can just ask to just leave them there. The best thing is just leave them alone. The mom should be somewhere in the area. The only time we tell somebody that they need to get in touch with a rescue or something is they say that if their ears are kind of crinkled on the end, that shows a sign.
A lot of ticks too, because mama's not eating.
Right, being dehydrated where the mom hadn't been around. She may have been hit by a car or anything like that. So typically, as long as the fawn looks to be healthy, then we just tell them to leave them be. And more times than not, the mom does show back up and they'll move on.
Coyotes, it's there's no season. Is that correct in Kentucky?
They're actually you can hunt them year round.
Year round,
yeah.
Even if they're, typically people say if they're threatening to livestock.
Right. And
I
know it's something people don't want to do, but you have a right to protect your livestock from dogs as well.
Right.
As well as yourself. I know it's not anything anybody wants to do, but you just know that you have that right to protect yourself and your animals.
Yeah, you got a text?
Yeah, we got potholes.
No pothole?
I'll go from the most recent one. It says pothole between Zaxby's and Walgreens.
Oh, it's bad.
And then Bloomfield Road, starting at the high school, is going to be paved, and that's a state 62, right?
It is, but I know they're going to do 49 out to the bridge, and I don't know about 62. Mm-hmm. If I told you, I wouldn't be telling you the truth. I'm not 100% sure. I know some of these rural secondary roads, the state, I think that's the 62 is, I can't remember if that's on the list or not. But just to let everybody know, a lot of the roads, we've had a lot of them in good shape, but this last winter has been rough on a lot of roads. And I think I told you before, Howardstown Road, we got that worked out with the state, and they use rural secondary money going to blacktop the entire Howardstown Road. I think it's from 52 all the way through Howardstown, so that's high on our priority list, needed very bad.
And Brooke, you seem to be familiar with the pothole by Zaxby. Is it on the street? Or
I know that's a private. I don't know if that piece
is. It's like
is
pulling out of Walgreens. It's like when you're pulling out of Walgreens. I've about done it, and I done tore my car up on potholes.
I noticed it there the other day when I was driving through there, and I think as you come up in, that becomes private, kind of like Lee's up there with all the time they finally fixed those potholes there, and. I'm almost positive that becomes a private drive once you pull in past that right of way.
It's pretty much in Walgreens.
But I will check on it also.
This is Pothole Central. You can text it in, and we'll make sure the judge gets it, 348-2222, or you can call in also. Our guest today, Brooke
Caulfield.
Can't see
There you go.
There it is, Caulfield. Director at the animal shelter, and Todd Bartley, he is animal control officer with the judge today.
Well, we have back on these potholes and what have you, they can call 348-1800, 348-1800 anytime in this call, and then the message will go to the right people on these Florida County roads. Now, we've got, from last year's list and going into this year, in the county of blacktopped several roads, county roads this year already. We haven't finalized our list going in after July 1st when we get it approved through the court, so you'll see a lot more roads blacktop on the county side. And as far as the state roads, I don't have their list with me, but they've got so many they've prioritized on their regular routine order. Then we're trying to get some emergency money on. We've got 2 bridges. I already told you about those 2 bridges on Sullivan Lane, Old Woodlawn Road that we've got approved through the state, and I'm working on one more and toward the Bloomfield area, and actually 2 over there. There's different pools of money, they call it. There's another blacktop pool of money for the emergency roads. We're trying to get our hands on some of that too. So the state commissioner Bobby Joe Lewis, and of course Senator Hagan and County Master Only, they've been really good to work with us, helping us trying to get the roads in better shape, and it just takes a lot of money.
Speaking of money, your budget has been through first reading, or?
First reading,
And
and send it to the state, and then we'll probably get it back, I hope next week or so, when they got to proof it.
Okay.
And
then
there could be some more adjustments, but mostly everything's pretty well. I feel really good about it. Rhonda really worked hard, her treasurer, Rhonda Finley. She puts a lot of time in on that budget and watches it very, very close. And then Brad Metcalf is the deputy judge. He'll come through and go through it, and then I put more time in on it this year than I had with the last 2, to be quite honest, because we will make sure we've got, especially with this allotment on this courthouse, that air conditioning unit and all that. It's 1.5 million for that total project now. The Tourist Commission's paying a lot of that for the remodel, so it won't be coming out of the county. Just people know that. But that old boiler system in there, and we've had temporary heaters in there since January the 3rd, and I've got 4 air conditioning units temporary in there right now just for the, I don't know how many actually work in the courthouse upstairs and downstairs. There's probably 20 something, but when it got pretty warm, it gets pretty hot in there. So the working conditions, it just needs to be replaced, and we have to do it. So the budget's in good shape. I feel good about that coming in, and hopefully don't have a lot of repairs this year. We feel like we got everything in pretty good shape. Looks like we have to go to the animal clinic and do some work there. And
Yeah, I can get y'all going for days. Lots of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. The Fairgrounds project, you've heard me talk about the Agri-Science Center and the Agri-Tourism Center that we're working on that. I'm going to meet with some more, I think, this week and next week. That program is moving forward. My 2 engineers, John and Brad, has been helping design the baseball complex I've talked to you about out there, and softball and t-ball that's just don't have enough room, and so we're working on that. We just kind of put that on the back burner a little bit because I hadn't had time to do it. So once we get all these different projects moving forward, then we gotta go out and try to find some money. Working on the industrial park with the BIDC in the city. We've been trying to identify some land over the years, and we're meeting with the state over that coming up here in a couple of weeks. Try to work with them, and there's industrial people to help us on some financing. We've identified, I can't say a whole lot here, but we have identified some properties that we're trying to work on to bring in more jobs to the community. So there's a lot going on every day, and I know Todd and Brooke what they do every day. I kind of tease. I have different groups, different departments, and they'll be complaining here or there, and
What, that we're the stepchild?
complaining here or there. And I said,
Well, they say the buck stops here and the complaints stop there.
and I don't mind it,
They
but
don't stop, but
I kind of tease them. I say, I hear y'all complaining, not directly to them, but
Yeah.
a few other ones. I said, I've got, I think there's 12 departments that's under the county judge, and there's few of them partially, but about 200 employees. So when they start complaining about one department, I just kind of let go in one ear and out the other. So. But now everybody's, I think all of our staff and my direct staff and all the departments, we've had to make some changes over the 2 years, and they know out there we've had to make some drastic changes the first year I came in, and so I feel really good about all our departments and our county employees as a whole. What's the old word say? We weeded some of them out, and I campaigned on that. You got to have a good work ethic and a good attitude, and probably that second one is as much as important to me. If you have a bad attitude, it don't work with me too good. So
Me neither.
but I feel really good about it. It's been 2 years and I think 3 months, and everybody's got different styles, and I know my styles. I've been very aggressive and pretty demanding, but I think I've been fair, and we've tried
Absolutely.
to get everybody's pay scales where they need to be. And matter of fact, I'm gonna be working with my staff next week over the. Let's see, let me think about this. It's this week we've met 2 or 3 times on the health insurance, because insurance in general is skyrocketing. So we have been very fortunate in saving quite a bit of money for the county and employees when we went self-insured the first year that I came in. So it'll be 2 budgets, and we've saved several hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's worked out really well. If we went with Bluegrass, not Bluegrass, Blue Cross, or some of these individual carriers without going self-insured, there's no way that the county could have absorbed it all. The employees would have been paying quite a bit more money in today's market. There's just no way we could have. So we've went that route. It was a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of meetings, and the fiscal court, all the masters supported the plan that I gave them, and Ron and Carol at the time, they was really instrumental in helping me up there go through that. Our two gentlemen, actually 3 of them, that really work hard under the carrier, and so it's worked out really well. Now you're going to have your up and downs when you're self-insured. You're going to have some good years, and you're going to have some bad years. We're going to probably go in a year where it's going to be a little bit flat, but still going to save the county money. And so we're meeting, I think, actually tomorrow, coming up with a plan, and then we're going to start having open enrollment again. So we're going to have several more options for the employees where it can save us and help them out. We went with what we call the Blue Mine Clinic.
That's really neat.
And I'm trying to and I'm going to be involved in these open enrollments personally myself, and try to educate and talk to the employees, because it's very hard to understand when you're making changes. But if they utilize this insurance the way we're going to propose it, and do the wellness checks, and use the Blue Mine, it's going to save the county employees a lot of money. And the county taxpayers, we're not going to save as much this year, but it's going to be flat. So we've got to we've got to make sure we continue to have good benefits for the employees, and we, started more health savings accounts. So we got a lot of options out there the last 2 years that we didn't have in the past, and this year we're going to try to have a little bit more. So, but there's a lot to do, and that's fine. But when it comes to animal control, and I don't know how many can you hold total?
We've got
100?
20. We've got 22
in the quarantine dog building, and is it 13 in the adoption?
in the adoption room for the dogs, and a slew of cat kennels. I really can't tell you how many.
Yeah.
But I will say that the month of April, we were at an 85% live rate. That is 5% away from no-kill shelter. We did not have to hardly put down any animals, and it was amazing.
I got a text in. I'm going to try to read it. It says, Judge, you just mentioned Deputy Judge Metcalf, whom you hired to take your place on decisions when you aren't able, so no, and then period. And then it says, so no one can dart a dog, take care of an aggressive dog other than animal control. What happens if he has to have surgery or had family emergency? It falls on the unauthorized road department people. Did y'all follow the text? I tried to read it. Okay.
I followed it. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't follow the first part. What are you talking about on the first part? It says,
Yeah, with Brad.
I don't know. I guess they were asking on the succession in county government, like if the president is incapacitated, I guess.
no, it don't work that way. No, I don't know what they're asking, but he's a deputy, part-time deputy county judge that does a tremendous amount of work. Plus, he's an EMA director.
Yeah.
Not EMS, EMA director. That's we went to the next level in emergency management. Joey Pruitt did it for years, did an excellent job, and John Hendricks was helping him. I've got John helping Brad. Joey retired, and we've been fortunate enough to make some changes and adjustments to make sure we're in better financial shape. Brought the dispatch came under the county's umbrella, another department that I was talking about earlier. But that's all worked out good. Brad Metcalf has helped us, helped me in that side of it because that's under the emergency side, and he's helped, just tremendous amount of work. I mean, you just can't do it all. And so if it's a succession plan, I don't know really what you're talking about there, but
you don't want to think about it. As if you were incapacitated.
Well, that would go to the governor, and there's some other processes in place. But he does. He wears a lot of hats. He don't just help me. He helps every department. And
okay, Todd, you said you understood that your part of the question.
The part where if something happens, I'm incapacitated in some way. Basically, it would have to fall back on law enforcement to decide what to do at their discretion.
Not the county road department, but law enforcement.
Right. Simply because, if it's an aggressive dog situation, if I'm not able to be there to dart it, then the only other option would be firearm.
Yeah.
So they would be the ones that would have to make that decision. And, with having a dart gun, that kind of helps prevent a lot of that from having to be done, especially dogs that have been hit on the road. I've had several cases where the dog's hit, injured, where if I wasn't there to be able to sedate the dog, I don't have to dart it because I can just use a regular syringe to sedate it, but it prevents the law enforcement from having to euthanize it there on the roadside.
Yeah, and that happens a whole lot.
It does, yes.
Because that dog is scared, is hurt, is hurting, and it doesn't know
when their adrenaline's going and everything. They're unpredictable.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people a scared dog. I'm more leery of a scared dog than one that is obviously dangerous because they're just so unpredictable.
Let's see here. Back to potholes. It says if a pothole is on private property and it is for the public, can they be sued for repairs to vehicles? I believe, Brooke, you said you had a vehicle.
Well, that wasn't in our county. That was in Bullitt County. So
okay, well,
we're in the clear here.
So I don't know.
I don't know. That'd be a civil dispute, and I'm not sure if you can or cannot. But I would say, you'd have to. I don't think the county attorney would have any responsibility over private property. It gets in. Just like what y'all deal with and what we deal with. People complain and and ask a lot of questions, and I try my hardest. Which is like these state roads. Potholes, trees, grass, lawsuits, animals getting out. There's one thing after another, and I don't dodge them and kick them off when I get a call. Had a deer complaint up in Chapin. Good Friday, about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and of course all the employees, it's about a 12 o'clock shift in animal control, the dead wagon pickup, so I had them go up there and get this deer away from us in the middle of the road, on the state road actually, but I try to take every call and every complaint or every issue and try to send it to the right department, so anybody's listening, I don't have any problem at all. If they call 348-1800, we'll try to get them to the right people in the right place. It's like back to y'all, Todd and Brooke. I think it was at Maple Hill, and a gentleman called, and he actually came to see me about groundhogs, and they tried to trap them, they tried to get them out, and then he got bit by the groundhog, and you remember that's the case, and it was, if we did the county taxes would have to be about, I don't know how much it would be if we did every animal, skunks, squirrels, raccoons, possums, we just can't do it. So that we do have the Fish and Wildlife, number. We try to send them to the right people, because that incident there, I think that helped us. Hopefully that's worked out better. If somebody does call, I don't have a problem with them calling me or calling out there. We just got to make sure we take the call and send them to the right people. I don't want to say, no, it's not our job, hang up. I don't like to operate that way. And try to get them to the right person and need help. If people's calling, most of the time they need something. And there's a lot of older people or people who just don't even know. They don't know. Some people don't, you can't shoot in the city limits if you don't have a gun. Some people's, anti-guns or don't want to carry a weapon. And there's different ways you can trap them, but you get them in these cages and start grabbing them out of there, that's pretty dangerous. Mm-hmm. So there's all kinds of things that we try to do, and I'm sure y'all got some numbers or people that's
we got a lot of contacts.
Certified.
Yeah. We got a few people that we work with, or not work with, but they bring us their cards and stuff and whatnot.
So that's just an ongoing thing. When the skunks, you see them on the roads, and when they start breeding and mating, and you'll see them traveling everywhere, and they get in the yards and get under people's houses and make dens, and it's you're just going to have that. The deer, it's funny. Judge, no, I wasn't judge. I was a magistrate. They called one day. Judge, what in the heck can you do? I'm getting tired when the county's gonna take care of these deers in my backyard eating my garden up. It's a true story. And I listened. I tried to be halfway serious because I didn't want to laugh on the phone. I said, "Now say it again. What in the heck are y'all gonna do?" He chose more choice words. I want somebody who can take care of these deer eating my garden up. And that one's a good one, and I can tell you about a dozen more about things that the county can't be responsible for everything. It just physically and financially cannot do it.
And legally.
Yeah.
There's probably some illegality. We've got just a few more minutes left. This is Around the County with Judge-Executive Tim Hutchins, brought to you by and made possible by Joe Hill's Power Sports and Outdoor Equipment, and we'll hear from them in just a little bit. Judge, we talked about things that doesn't come under Judge-Executive, but this week trial starts, and it started, I guess, this morning in Warren County. Do we have a lot of administrative people, not in the judicial side and the sheriff's side? Are they allocated? I had that question and I didn't know who to ask.
I really don't know. I know who's responsible for running, was it Warren County's courthouse? I wouldn't, when they have the court there, I don't know if our sheriff's department, because that goes under his budget, if he has to be responsible for the staff there, or does run under them. I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know there's going to be a lot of people calling in, testifying, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of people off the streets, and I don't know really anything other than what anybody else has read or heard about the case, and I don't know any more about it than what everybody else does, so I really can't answer that. And you said it started today?
Jury selection this morning about 8:45 Central Time, or around 8 o'clock. So I believe Jim Brooks is there, and maybe a question to ask him to look around, see how many, Nelson County.
Shay McAllister is there too.
Yeah.
She follows it all. She's amazing.
I think there was, what I read, did I read it, that they're not gonna allow any media? Didn't they say that?
Well, they've allowed one pool camera to operate. In other words, one video camera will feed outside the courtroom to the media. There are media seating. They had to apply for it last week. But you can't have any recording devices inside the courtroom. Anything. A phone is considered a recording device.
So you can watch it live?
They can be outside the courtroom, and there's a video feed. They call them pool cameras when they have one camera shared. The output of it is shared by all of the media. So actually, there wasn't going to be that, but Louisville TV and Courier Journal actually had a lawyer write up a request to judge, and the judge approved the pool camera.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there will be something, but
That's a different judge. That's a different judge.
Yeah.
That gets a lot more higher than my pay grade. So.
Well, that wraps up the show today. And again, you want to say thanks to our sponsor? And
Thanks to Joe Hill's Power Sports for sponsoring this. Then I don't know who I'll have on next week. Sometimes it'll be myself, but we've been rotating, and I may have a magistrate next week maybe. So thanks to Todd and Brooke for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and thanks for doing all you've done for us.
You're very welcome. All right, thank you, everybody.